It is with reference to what I said earlier and other key factors that are spelled out in our clock statement that we've come to a grim assessment. It is with considerable concern that we set the time of the 2018 Doomsday Clock and offer a plea to rewind the Doomsday Clock. As of today, it is 2 minutes to midnight. And then I'd like to ask my colleagues to come to the podium to offer some remarks on how we got to this assessment. Bob, let me turn the floor over to you.
Thank you. There is unfortunately little doubt but that the risk of nuclear weapons may be used, intentionally or because of miscalculation, grew last year around the globe. We're seeing that all of the major weapon states are investing in their nuclear arsenals. North Korea's nuclear and missile tests demonstrated an accelerating and successful program of building a new generation of massive weapons of mass destruction. In Southeast Asia, in South Asia, the emphasis on nuclear and missile capabilities grows. Conventional force imbalances and destabilizing plans for nuclear weapons use early in any conflict continue to plague the subcontinent. The nuclear arsenals of all of the major weapon states are being updated and imbued with enhanced capabilities. Trump administration's nuclear posture review appears likely to increase the types and roles of nuclear weapons and U.S. defense plans and to lower the threshold for nuclear use.
Arms control treaties and non-proliferation agreements are mechanisms that nuclear weapon states and non-nuclear weapon states alike rely upon to help provide transparency, predictability, and stability for regional and global security. Last year, several elements of this key architecture have come under fire. U.S.-Russian nuclear arms control is a key element, since both countries together still possess about 95% of the world's nuclear weapons. And without bilateral progress, there is little incentive for others to move forward. However, for the first time in many years, in fact, no U.S.-Russian nuclear arms control negotiations are underway. And if the draft U.S. nuclear posture review is any guide to U.S. policy, there will be no U.S.-Russian nuclear arms control negotiations for the foreseeable future. Instead, we could see a return to a nuclear arms race.
For this year's forward movement of the clock was the perilous nuclear situation. Climate change very much remains a serious and worsening threat. Indeed, it has helped bring us as close to midnight as we have ever been at any time during the nuclear age. In 1953, when the clock was last at 2 minutes to midnight, climate change was a distant, hypothetical threat. Since that time, carbon dioxide pollution from burning fossil fuels that we've dumped into the atmosphere has increased sixfold. And not surprisingly, the Earth has warmed as a consequence, now by about 1 degree centigrade. This might not sound like much, but let me put it in perspective. During the depths of the last ice age, the Earth was only around 5 degrees colder than it is now. 5-degree temperature change was enough to completely transform the surface of the Earth. Seas were 400 feet lower, coastlines were radically altered, and large areas of land, about a quarter of the Earth's landmass, including where major cities now stand, were covered by ice sheets miles thick. We do not want to risk warming the Earth by an amount even remotely close to another 5 degrees. We do not want to risk pushing the Earth toward the opposite of an ice age, whatever unimaginable hell that might mean.
Recap. Recently, the former Secretary of Defense, William Perry, described the current world situation as follows. Today, the danger of some sort of nuclear catastrophe is greater than it was during the Cold War, and most people are blissfully unaware of this danger. This is reflected in part in the fact that the Bolton's clock now stands at 2 minutes to midnight, which I want to emphasize is as close as it has ever been to midnight in the 71-year history of the clock. The danger of nuclear conflagration is not the only reason the clock has been moved forward, as my colleagues have described. This danger looms at a time when there's been a loss of trust in political institutions, in the media, in science, and in facts themselves, all of which exacerbate the difficulty of dealing with the real problems the world faces, and which threaten to undermine the ability of governments to effectively deal with these problems. The existential threats that the Bolton focuses on are ones of humanity's own making. Nuclear weapons and human-generated climate change agents are two examples. Like these, the abuse of information, which is at the base of the loss of trust I've described, is also a product of human technology. Information technology and global reliance on the Internet are two key factors. As for the case of biological change agents, we need to seek better ways of controlling malignant developments. World leaders need to seek better collective methods of managing these technological advances so that positive aspects of new technologies are encouraged and malign uses discovered and countered. The international